Hello, welcome. I hope you're having a lovely day. My name's Rosie. Welcome to my channel, and this is my knitting podcast. But if you've been here before, you'll know I don't just knit, so I'm going to talk about everything I'm making at the moment. It is mostly knitting, but there are some other things in there too at the moment. So grab yourself a drink. I am drinking pineapple juice with frozen mango in it because my favourite life hack at the moment is instead of putting ice in your drink, you can just put frozen fruit and then you can eat the fruit at the end. It is actually really good. So grab yourself a drink to stay hydrated and let's chat about what I'm making. That's so good. First up, finished objects. My first finished object I'm very excited about because it's been on my needles for about 3 months, and if you've seen any of my podcasts before, you'll have seen me talk about them. These are the Turning Point socks from 52 Weeks of Knits, and I finished them! I made these for my husband. Back in February, we went to a shop called, I can't remember what it's called, but I'll put it on screen, and he picked out some yarn so I could make him a pair of socks. And isn't the colour gorgeous? I also made the mistake of letting him pick the pattern that he wanted. Not the mistake, I don't regret it, but he picked the Turning Point socks from 52 Weeks of Socks, and those were originally knee-high. So off the bat, I made a modification, which is that I basically just started the chart lower down. I cast on the stitches, because there are decreases because they're knee-high, the stitches at the level that I wanted to start at, and did some ribbing and then just started on, I think there's chart A, B and C, and there's A, B and C, and I just started on chart B. Part of the reason for that was that I only had 250-gram skeins of this wool, which is Jawoole, which I really enjoyed working with, and I'll talk about in a second. The other reason was that originally I was going to make these for his birthday, which is in April. I cast them on in March, about a month before, thinking, plenty of time. I've mostly made DK socks up to this point. I've made some lighter ones, but these are probably my most complex, actually fingering weight, sock weight yarn socks. And with the cables, and because it was a actual pay attention sock pattern, because the cables are not a repeatable, memorable pattern. They're not just the same every number of rows. I mean, they are, but not to an extent that I could memorize. And so I had to pay attention every time I was knitting on these, and they just, they took about 3 months. I cast them on in March. I finished them at the end of June. So all in all, I do think I finished about this much in maybe a week and a half, because I really knuckled down and got to work on them. But largely I was making these consistently over that whole time. So like I said, the yarn I made these in was Jawoole, which I really love. I have it in more colours and I have projects planned with it, which I'm excited about. But one of the things that I was initially very excited about is it comes with a tiny little spool inside, which the guy in the shop told me was for darning. But then I talked about it in a podcast and someone said that they had been told that it was for holding with to strengthen heels and things. And so that's what I did. I held it with the yarn for the heel flap and for the toes. And if anywhere else wears to holes when Will wears these, I will just darn with it as well to strengthen it. But it did make the bits where I was knitting with the extra strand, it's not like holding it double. It is thinner than the yarn, but it does make it thicker overall. And so I do think that might affect sizing if that was something you were going to use it for. So if you do use this yarn, I would bear that in mind. I don't think it's affected it for me, but maybe in the future I'll size down needles for the bits where I'm using it, just so it's a bit tighter, and that will probably help with the wear as well. But I don't know, you probably can't see it, it's really minute, but I used it for the heel turn and I stopped when I started the gusset, and it is, the gauge is larger, smaller. There are more stitches per inch on the foot than on the heel, if that makes sense, but only slightly. And I don't think anyone would really notice. It just might affect the fit. So something to bear in mind. But I'm very pleased with these, and I can't wait to see we'll wear them. They're going to be special occasion socks because look at them. Imagine these, a pair of DMs and a suit. Yes. This is also my first superwash yarn finished object, so I'm interested to see how it reacts to being washed. I have blocked these, washed and blocked these. I can't even remember if I did it by hand or whether I put them through the machine, but you can put them through the machine. I don't know whether I will, but they can be washed in the machine, which gives me some anxiety. So that's the first finished object. I am very pleased with them. Next up, I have one that I'd only just started in the last video, and I actually had finished it before I even uploaded that video because sometimes it takes me a while to edit. And this was a very quick knit that I adored. I had done a lot of fingering weight projects. Most of the projects I'm doing at the moment are on 3.5mm needles or less, which has some hand strain, and I'd done a lot of fingering weight, those socks, and I had just finished the camisole number 9, and so I needed a break on some chunky worsted yarn, and I made the emotional support chicken. I love her. Her name is Elizabeth. She lives on our sofa, and I'm so pleased. I have wanted to make this pattern for a long time. My aunt made one for my granny a couple years ago now, I think, and it has been on my wish list ever since of things I want to knit. And honestly, I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. It was so quick. It was really interesting and just the perfect little breather project. Very satisfying to see it come together. I love her so much. She lives on our sofa and is just the perfect conversation piece when people come in, but also she's very supportive. I actually disassembled a doorstop, which turned out to just have a bag of sand in, and put a little weight in her so that she is actually a bit weighted. I think if I was to do it again, I'd probably do something that was weighted but took up more of her, because it is just kind of in the bottom, and I don't know if you can see, but you can feel it. I did put some stuffing under it, but it's made its way to the bottom. Other than that, she's perfect. I made a little heart to go inside. This was on my 25 things I want to make before I turn 25, so it's nice to be ticking those projects off. I actually haven't checked that list since I made it. A lot of the things I know what was on there, and because I still want to make them. I should probably check it and see whether I still align with those things, but I'm definitely wanted to make this, and I'm so glad I did, and I will probably make more, because who doesn't want more chickens? One day I want real chickens, but for now, she'll have to do. Isn't that right, Elizabeth? I also made her from the scraps of my step-by-step sweater, which has led to some funny instances because I wear that sweater around the house a lot. It's my house sweater. I just put it on if I'm cold. And so I'll often be sat on the sofa matching Elizabeth, which I think is really cute, but also is kind of funny and has led to the question of, is she wearing a jumper or is my jumper made of her feathers? Which I think is maybe going too far into the universe of my knits, but if you would like to make your own emotional support chicken, I would highly recommend. The pattern is maybe not the most beginner friendly if you haven't made anything or you're not used to following patterns. I did struggle with it a little bit because I'm used to patterns which will do each row, and it was written in steps, but once I got my head around that, it was fine. But just pre-warning you, if you're not used to patterns, you might need a little bit of help on it, but feel free to message me on Instagram DMs if you do want to make it but struggle with the pattern tool. And also, I'm sure someone has done a tutorial out there because it's quite a popular pattern anyway. But yes, I love her. Anyway, I think I'm going to put Elizabeth somewhere in shot so she can judge. So those are my knitted finished objects, but I have two others. Firstly, and I talked about these in my last podcast, these are my finished chanterelle pants in this lovely sunflower fabric. I'm so pleased with how these came out. There are a couple of things that I will change when making this style in the future, which I'll go into a second, but I think they're really cute. I actually ended up dyeing the fabric very slightly because it was very white. And if you've seen my making my summer wardrobe video, I have been really into dyeing anything that's pure white in my wardrobe to an off-white because I think it suits me better. Well, I know it suits me better. I don't like wearing pure white, and so I slightly dyed these, and you really couldn't tell if I didn't tell you. But let's talk about the pattern. The pattern is the Chanterelle pants by So Liberated, and I made a mistake from the off with this in that I printed them out and didn't check the measurements before I got home, was cutting them out and everything, and I had printed them slightly small. And so I did adjust, I did maths, I adjusted for that in terms of the size I picked, but sizes don't just blow up and down. So I think that slightly affected the fit. These are maybe not quite as baggy as I wanted them to be. I wanted them to be like big, oversized, but still kind of fitted around the hips, the waist. And so these, I think, came out like slightly smaller because of that. They're also a little bit short, even on me, and I'm short. I have short legs. I am 5'3.5", but most of my height is in my body. I have the legs of a 5-foot woman and the torso of a 6-foot woman, not 6 foot, but you get the idea. If I'm sat down next to my very tall husband, we don't look that different in height, but if I'm stood up, there's a more than a foot between us. You get the idea. But I don't mind a bit of a cropped leg, so that doesn't bother me too much. I really enjoyed learning the technique of how to do this sort of barrel leg shape with a little pleat. I hadn't really thought about how you would shape a barrel leg in any other way than how you cut the pattern. I suppose you could probably do darts, but the pleats, they make sense. I just hadn't really thought about it. And this is why I need to follow more patterns, because you learn things from them rather than just trying to make it up with your own knowledge. I don't have enough sewing knowledge yet to do that. The other thing I did was pattern match the pockets, which I also learned that the pattern had marks for where you were supposed to put the pockets, but I learned that after I cut them out and had already pattern matched them to just where I thought they went. But it worked out. I think they are fine in terms of the placement. I think they would look better where they're supposed to be, but because it's pattern matched, you can't even really see where they are. Anyway, I also pattern matched the front ones, which then I feel like made it really obvious that I didn't pattern match down the middle, but I don't think you could do that. I don't think that's possible. The next thing I have planned is to make these in a teal gingham that I have. I'm very excited about. I will be interested to see how that looks down the middle with the obvious lines. So I have to bear that in mind when cutting it out. The fabric I made this in was just from Hobbycraft, and aside from dyeing it, I really like it. I am not sure what I'm going to wear these with because they're not as big and baggy as I wanted them to be. I feel like I need to wear something baggy on top, but I don't know that I have anything that they'll go with. But what I just need to do is pull things out of my wardrobe and play around with them. I will be making more of this style. I don't know whether I'm going to use the pattern or whether I'm going to sort of merge bits of the pattern with another trouser pattern that I have. I like the way it fits me on the like front and top bits, and then sort of do the legs more this style. I don't know. I'm going to play around with it and I'm looking forward to it. That is my sewing finished object. And then you may have noticed the t-shirt I'm wearing. You might not know, however, that I printed this myself. I have wanted to make graphic tees for months now, and I've played around in my head with all of the different ways that I could have done it, drawing designs and getting them printed, getting them like the sublimation paper and like ironing it on, getting into screen printing, all sorts. But what I wanted was a cheap and fun and easy way to do it, but I don't have the drawing skills to bring to life what I have in my head exactly. And so I had a bit of a brainwave and I bought a bunch of stamps on Vinted, and this was my first sort of trial with them. As you can see, it is a little bit imperfect, and I think with this technique, it's probably going to be imperfect most times. I did this tote bag first. This is actually a tote bag from Beautiful Knitters, which is actually a brilliant idea that I had, was to just use tote bags that are blank on one side as my sort of practice pieces. And so I also, on this Loose and Yag tote bag, did this Dream Home design. Now, I'm still perfecting this technique, but I think I'm getting there. I'm very pleased with how this t-shirt came out. I use fabric paints, and actually this one is some fabric inks, and I'm sort of playing around with how both of those work. And then a screen printing like roller for the paint, roll it on the stamp and then stamp it on. And also I got some heat erasable markers for sewing, but they work great for these because you set the ink / paint with heat. When you do that, any marks that you do disappear. So I could sketch out the design, make sure that it was going to be center and everything. And I'm just so pleased with how it came out. I thrifted this t-shirt from, I got it in a charity shop, and I've been collecting more and more t-shirts that some of them I've actually dyed because it's easier to find white t-shirts. And then some of them are not white, like this one. But yeah, I've got probably 10 t-shirts now to play around with, and I'm really excited for what I'm gonna be able to make, because I just needed more graphic tees in my wardrobe. Somehow I had a shocking lack of graphic tees in my wardrobe, and I just love the idea of designing them myself. So yes, I do plan on doing a video on how to make these in the whole process, like a step-by-step, when I am happy that I've sort of perfected my technique. So if that is something you'd be interested in, let me know. I will add that the only thing I haven't done yet is wash this t-shirt. I'm going to wash this first as a test, but this one I washed and it even had stains on, so I had some stain remover and it literally did not budge. The bag did shrink a bit, but I put it was in a high heat wash and it's 100% cotton, so that's expected. Maybe if you do try this at home, pre-shrink your cottons. Cheers. So that's it for finished objects. Moving on to WIPs. I don't have any sewing WIPs. I just have 2 knitting WIPs at the moment. One travel one and one more attention one. Let's talk about my travel one first. If you saw my last podcast, I had finished the camisole number 9 and already bought yarn for a second one. And now I have started the second one. I just really love the shape, the fit, everything of my first iteration. The only thing I don't love is that it's a wool silk blend, so it's a little bit warm. So in the really hot days that we've been having here in the UK recently, I can't really wear it, but it's probably already one of my most worn handmade items, and I finished it like a month ago. So I'm making a second one. This is 100% cotton from Sustenglerner. I don't know if that's pronounced right, but I said it in an Instagram video recently, and I've had some people give me tips, so hopefully that was correct. But this is 100% cotton from Sostengren, is how I've been saying it before that. And I've just realised I got a little bit of a stain on it. I don't know what it was. Something leaked in my bag. I think it might have been sun cream, and I washed it yesterday, and I thought it'd come out, but there's still a little bit of a mark at the back, but it's barely noticeable. It'll probably be fine. I'll be fine. No one's going to know. How are they going to know? I've just posted it on the internet. That's how they're going to know. But I am now on the body, working in the round, and so it's a perfect travel project. The first bit is actually also a really easy travel project because it's very repeatable, and because I've already made it, I kind of already had everything in my head, so I didn't have to refer to the pattern all that much, which was really good. The arm and neck bits will probably require a bit more attention, but I'll probably do those over a weekend or something, probably before I've even finished the body, because last time I made this, I not rushed it, but I was locked in on it, and so finished it relatively quickly, but I'm just doing a couple rows here and there at the moment, so I think it's going to take a lot longer than the first one. That being said, I'm very excited to wear it, and I would like to wear it for the majority of the summer. I hope I finish it this month, but it's a great project. I love the pattern. It's the Camisole No. 9 by My Favourite Things knitwear. It's really simple. It's really easy. I will say I didn't meet gauge. If you saw me talk about the first time I knit this, I didn't meet gauge. I was doing it continentally to practice my continental knitting, but this one I'm doing regular English style, and my gauge is actually the same for both. Who knew? It's exactly the same for both, and I didn't want to size down my needles, so I just made it in the same size that I made the first one, and I know it's going to fit. I'm making the smallest size, but with the gauge considerations, I would be making the third size. Take from that what you will. I think I probably also overbought yarn for this. I think I bought four balls, and I am just coming to the end of, I think, the first, but I actually have used a little bit of another one when I was doing the straps. I reckon I'll use 2, maybe 3 of those 50-gram skeins. So let me know if you have any ideas for what I should do with the leftovers. Then my second WIP I'm very excited about. I have been wanting a summer cardigan, and I wanted something that was light, and I had a very specific vision in my head, and I went on Ravelry, and I was on Ravelry loads, and I could not find a pattern that I liked. So I made the decision to design my own. I slightly impulsively bought a bunch of drops Belle. I think I might have shown that in my last podcast, but I might not have, I can't remember, sorry. But I have now cast it on, and let me show you. It's my big old bag. I think I bought something like 10 balls of this. I had referenced other patterns that were similar, well, that I thought I might want to make, but then decided I didn't want to. And the amount that they would have used, and then slightly went over that. But I think I'm going to have enough. I don't even think I've used that many, maybe 2 or 3 so far. This is the colour 2. I'm not sure what the colour name is, but it's like a creamy colour. And I've never used Drops Belle before, but I am really enjoying it. I knit up a lot of swatches for this one so that I could do the maths and knew what I was doing. And I'm going to do a little series on my TikTok and Instagram of the whole process if you do want to see that. I wanted this eyelet stitch, and then I wanted some cable details, and then like a picot edge to the where the ribbing would be, but it's not ribbed. And so I worked out everything I wanted. I did a ton of maths and figuring out stitches. I have a book that is top-down sweaters, so I referenced that. And then I cast on, and here is where we're at so far. I am on the body. I did a load of maths. The only thing I didn't take into consideration enough, I don't think, was my row gauge. So the depth, or the armhole depth, I don't think is quite as much as I wanted, but I haven't cast on the stitches for the arms yet, so it's actually a little bit hard to tell fully. I'm figuring it out as I go. If I have to undo, I have to undo. I've made my peace with that. I have made a couple of mistakes, most of which I could go back, like drop the stitches back a couple rows and fix, mostly in the eyelet holes, because for some reason I just kept forgetting to do the yarn overs or just doing them wrong and not realizing for ages. But there's one eyelet hole at the back. It's right in the center back, and it's missing. It either looks deliberate or no one will ever notice. In making this so far, I have developed a huge respect for designers who do anything other than like basic designs. And to be honest, basic designs are amazing, have their place. The fit and everything is great. But as soon as you incorporate more than one stitch or technique and have to figure out how they work together, there's just so much to take into consideration. For example, these eyelets, I knew I wanted them to go, you know, the increases and the eyelet distance to stay the same on the raglan. It's hard to tell without. Let me show you the swatch where I didn't do that, and it's really obvious. Here you go. You can see that the eyelets get just slightly further away from the raglan line, and so I knew that I had to figure out how to do that, which doing that and the exact spacing so that they would be in little diamond arrangements, just there's so much to take into consideration, but I am so pleased with how it's looking so far. My plan is to pick up, I did a provisional cast on and do a collar that way, because when I did the swatch I picked up the stitches, it was just too bulky. This yarn's quite stiff. I'm sure it will soften up with time because it's a cotton viscose linen blend, and so cotton and linen really soften up with time, but I didn't want the edge to be too bulky, so I did that provisional cast on, and I'm just, yeah, it's really cute. I'm happy with how it's coming along. I'm knitting this on 3.5 millimeter needles. The recommended needles, I think, for Drops Belle are like 4.5 or something, but I really wanted the fabric to be a lot closer than that. And even this is a bit holy, but I wasn't gonna go down any more needle sizes than that. I'll stop yapping on about that, but I am so excited to see how it comes out. I've gone off piece on patterns and sort of not self-drafted because I was following a pattern initially, but I went off piece on it. But I've never completely self-drafted, designed something to this scale before, and I'm very excited about how it's coming out. I have some other plans for self-drafted things as well, which to be honest I should have started with because they're a lot simpler, but hey, this was what I was excited about. So this is what I did, what I wanted to cast on. So that's all of my active WIPs. Let's talk acquisitions. So when I ordered the cream Drops Belle, I also got quite excited and also wanted to get over the minimum order threshold. And so I ordered a ball of basically all the colours I thought I might be interested in knitting in. And I think they're really cute. And initially I thought I'll order them and then I'll have them to swatch, and I can order more if I want to make more things in this yarn. I've heard so many good things about Drops Belle that I thought I'll probably want to make more things in it because it's so affordable, and if it's a great summer yarn then great. And also I really liked a lot of the colours, and so I thought, let me order them now, and then if I order it online in the future, I won't be sad that the colour's wrong. And so the colours I got were this brown, this sort of tealy blue, this yellow, which is a bit butter yellow, but a little bit darker than that, I think, this sort of lovely green, and then this pink. And then I was sat looking at them, and it reminded me of Isabella from Breathing Yarns, who made a sort of vest thing with granny squares with scraps, and I thought that would be really cute. But I don't wear vests, and I don't think I would wear it if I made it, and I definitely don't have enough of this for anything larger than a vest top wise. So I was sort of brainstorming what else I could use these all in a project together. And I have this top, which is rainbow stripes with a crew between. That was really very inspiring in terms of this colour palette, just because I think this colour palette looks so good together, but I think would look really good together, but with some space between. And then I was watching, I've forgotten the channel name, but her name's Melanie, and she was knitting some shorts. And I've seen so many knitted shorts, and I have held off. I'm like, I won't wear them. They're not for me. I've tried to crochet shorts before, it didn't go very well, but also that was years ago. And then I thought of this, and I thought of the Lolita pants, and I thought stripes, and this, and shorts, and summer, and I'm obsessed with this idea. I have so many ideas that I want to do, but this one honestly might bump its way up the list, so we'll see. But that is the plan for this yarn at the moment. I haven't got any patterns, but I do think I want to follow a pattern because I think the fit of shorts is so specific, and I just want something that's tried and true. So if you have any shorts patterns recommendations, especially if they include stripes, because I want to figure out how to do them without having the jogs in them. If anyone has any striped short patterns, they'd be much appreciated. I don't know in terms of fit what I want to do yet. I don't think they'll be like everyday wear. I think they'll probably be around the house or beach, or what I really need is a pair of shorts I can put on around the house or just for like chill days. That's what they'll probably be for. But I'm excited about that idea and I've talked about it enough now. So I'm going to move on to my second acquisition. I was in London in June because my friend was over from Canada, and so all of us got together and hung out for a couple of days. While I was there, I went to 2 knitting shops and bought stuff from one, which was Beautiful Knitters. I showed you the tote bag earlier. I actually have 2 of those tote bags now because I went in March. And when I went in March, I saw this yarn. I don't know if it's this specific skein, probably not, but I saw similar things and I had it in the back of my mind. I've thought about it a couple of times, and when I've thought about going to the shop, I've thought about that. I went in. The plan was just to buy some extra yarn for my catnip sweater because I don't think I'm going to have enough mohair for that. I also wanted to get something else nice, and I've been collecting mini skeins from every yarn shop I went to, but Beautiful Knitters doesn't really have mini skeins. So when I saw this, I thought, it's perfect. Anyway, that's enough. This is what I got. It's so pretty. I haven't really bought skeins for like how pretty they are before, because usually they're like variegated and stuff, and I say I don't usually gravitate towards variegated, but I actually saw some recently and realized that it's just because they're never in the right color scheme. But yes, this is just gorgeous. It's the camel's yarn inspired by Cornwall, and it's called Peaches and Pastry. My friend said it looked like strawberry or raspberry ice cream. It's got these really cute little speckles in, and I love it. And it comes with a little mini skein, which I think is really cute. And obviously the intention is that you do the heel and the toes or the cuffs in the mini skein, and then you do the rest of the sock in the sock yarn. But when I bought it, I thought, yes, I could pair these together, but also if I don't, I am collecting mini skeins. So it had that double benefit. And then I was looking through my Ravelry and realized that one of the sock patterns on my queue would be perfect for this yarn. And that is the Midsummer Dancer socks by Sari Nordland. And I have been wanting to make these socks for a while. I think they might even be on my 25 things I want to make list. They've certainly been on my Ravelry queue for a while, and I just think they would be perfect in this yarn. They're simple enough that the like flex and the pattern would shine, but also they have that extra flair that I think would give me a bit of interest and also just make them just an extra cute pair of socks. So I'm going to make those. I am not going to use the mini skein in them. I just want them to be all in this colour, and so I can add the mini skein to my little collection, which I'm going to make the anemone sweater with one day when I've collected enough of them. It's just an excuse to buy mini skeins when I go to yarn shops, basically. But so that's it for acquisitions and the video. Thank you so much for joining me for yapping about what I'm making. Let me know what you're making at the moment, if you've made any of these things. I'd love to chat with you in the comments about them, and have a lovely rest of your day, whatever you're doing, wherever you're going. Whatever will be, I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I've been yapping to myself for too long, so I'm gonna end it there. Bye, speak soon.